Welcome to Movie Film, I'm Carl, and I just watched Judas and the Black Messiah. Now, Judas and the Black Messiah is the story of Fred Hampton and his betrayal by his head of security, Bill O'Neal, as he's coerced to infiltrate the Black Panther Party on behalf of the FBI. They more or less blackmail him to doing the things, or at least that's how it was portrayed in the movie. J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI at the time, clearly has a vendetta against Fred Hampton in particular based on this movie. And it's got to be said, J. Edgar Hoover was a fucking dick. Now, this review is going to have some spoilers in it, so if you haven't seen the movie, go check out the movie, come back here and let me know all your thoughts right after you've seen it. And if you have seen it, let me know what you thought anyway. This is one of those movies where with the story, you have to remember it's based on real events. Some of this stuff, if you haven't lived through it and you see it in a movie, you'd go, that would never happen. That seems outrageous. How would that ever be allowed to happen? But this shit happened. And it's heart-wrenching, some of it. It's hard to watch some of it, especially some of the really hard scenes in this movie when you go, this shit happened. And we'll get into that. I'm assuming if you're watching this movie review that you have watched Judas and the Black Messiah, so I'm not going to run through the entire story. What I will say is I really enjoyed this movie. Now, this film was nominated for 6 Academy Awards this year in 2021, including nominations for both LaKeith Stanfield and Daniel Kaluuya for their roles within the movie. The weird thing is both actors were nominated for Best Supporting Actor, despite being the main actors in the movie, playing the main characters. Both were nominated for supporting roles. Kind of weird, but at least they got some recognition because they're both fantastic in this one. If I had to choose between the two, it would be very difficult, but I think LaKeith Stanfield does a phenomenal job in his role. Not to say Daniel Kaluuya doesn't, I just think LaKeith Stanfield tiny bit ahead of him. He arguably had the tougher role to portray because he had to show the conflict within his character. It's interesting they show the real footage of LaKeith Stanfield's character, Bill O'Neal, from a documentary in the late 80s, early 90s. And they get into that later on at the very end of the movie. So the movie has a lot of interesting dynamics within it. And even from a drama point of view, there's various moments within the movie where you wonder, are they going to figure out what Bill's doing? Is Bill going to get caught? In particular, a scene where they've gone to a different branch of the Black Panther Party and someone's recognized them from trying to steal their car earlier and calls them a cop. And one of the female members of the Black Panther Party takes a gun in Bill's car and holds him at gunpoint to prove that he's not a cop and he has to hotwire the car. That was a moment where I was thinking, I hope he knows how to hotwire the car because otherwise he's in trouble. Now, I assumed he was going to get through it because otherwise the movie would be over pretty quickly. But those scenes, the tension within those scenes was really good. And there's various instances of those throughout the movie. The interesting thing as well, in the scenes featuring J. Edgar Hoover, similar to in Trial of Chicago 7, in the scenes with the judge, played by Frank Langella, where he just makes your blood boil and he plays a despicable character. Martin Sheen does the same with J. Edgar Hoover and really shows what a dick that guy was. Now, the pacing in the first hour, a little bit slow, not gonna lie. I did pick up my phone a couple of times just to check up facts and stuff in the film. Once I realized about a quarter of the way into the movie that I recognized Fred Hampton from Trial of Chicago 7, I started researching if it was the same character and the connections between the two stories. They also mention in one scene with J. Edgar Hoover about Bobby Seale in Chicago and have like a drawing or a courtroom drawing of him chained up in the chair and all that from that horrible scene in Trial of Chicago 7. I still can't believe that was a thing. As I mentioned previously, I think LaKeith Stanfield does a phenomenal job in his role because his role, he had to show the character. He also had to make you like the character and dislike the character. All the way along, we knew he was betraying the people, but at the same time, he was taking part in the events and he was head of security, he was doing his role, and all the while along, he's betraying them. He was trying to show the conflict within the character, and I think he did a good job. It was clear from the movie that Bill O'Neal, at least this is what I got from the movie, that Bill O'Neal knew what he was doing was wrong, but he kept doing it because he was enjoying the perks of it, first and foremost. Perhaps didn't initially think what he was doing was wrong. There was definite conflict within the character, at times not wanting to do what he had to do, and at the same time he was being forced to do it by the FBI. Jesse Plemons, for some reason, just plays a really good bastard. Daniel Kaluuya in his role really makes you feel for Fred Hampton at times. When he's get thrown in jail for nothing, was it for stealing ice cream or something? And his time in prison, and then even at the end when he's with his wife, with his pregnant wife, and it's the night before what goes on. There's a scene later in the movie where Jimmy Palmer gets shot while trying to defend some people in a shop from corrupt cops. And we see him in hospital and he's fine in a later scene. And then when they show that he was killed in the hospital by the cops or by a doctor or someone under control of FBI, he was killed for the sake of it. He was killed just to be killed. That was a shocking moment. And that's one of those moments where you go, this is based on real events. This actually fucking happened. This movie can make your blood boil at some of the stuff that happens, especially when you remember that this shit happened. And I keep saying that, but that's the main thing I got from this movie, is that this shit happened. And the movie does a good job of not shying away from any of the nitty gritty, as it shouldn't. You know, there's no sugarcoating in this movie. And at the same time, they don't shy away from the Black Panther Party having weapons and fighting back and everything. But at the same time, they kind of showed that they were in a corner, fighting their way out of that corner. And ultimately we get down to the end of the movie. With definite spoilers coming up here, so if you've stayed on the movie review and you haven't seen the movie, you definitely want to skip this part, because there's going to be some major spoilers here as I talk about the ending. Although you might know Fred Hampton's story anyway. So at the end, the night before, when LaKeith Stanfield's character, Bill O'Neal, is at the party that they're having, or the gathering they're having. He goes over to Daniel Kaluuya's character. You can really see the conflict in Bill O'Neal at this stage. LaKeith Stanfield does a very good job at this point of showing the inner conflict in him. He knows he's kind of in a corner, he has to do this, but he doesn't want to do this. He knows what he's doing is wrong, but he's still gonna do it. He offers to make him a drink, and we know that he poisoned him. Not poisoned him, but sleeping tablets, so he wouldn't wake up despite what was coming. And then in the middle of the night, their offices are just attacked by, I don't know what you'd even call them. Just innocent, defenseless people are being shot at with all these guns and just being taken out at the knees. Everybody's being taken down and arrested for some reason. And then Fred Hampton's pregnant wife is brought out of the room where she was trying to wake up her husband, and she has to stand there while her husband is executed at point blank range in his bed while he slept. When I was watching that, I couldn't believe that that was a thing. Because again, as I keep coming back to, it's one of these things where in your mind you have to keep saying to yourself, this shit happened. It's unbelievable that that actually happened. And then at the end of the movie, the text that comes up that summarizes everything that happened afterwards about Bill O'Neal being part of the documentary, and you see in his role, and he says stuff like, I was there, and he was asked what he would tell his son. He said, tell him that I was there, I took part, I did my role. That along that lines, you could see there was something not right within him. And then they explain in the text afterwards that when the documentary went out, he committed suicide because he could clearly see what he'd done. And how would you live with yourself with that? And then finding out that Fred Hampton's wife survived and had their son, and their son's grown up and taken up the mantle of his father now. That's really cool to see. But like with Trial of Chicago 7, it's one of those films where you go, this shit happened. And it happened a long time ago. But it's still fucking happening. And what the fuck is wrong with this world? And I know I sound like I'm going on a fucking political rant thing now. That's not my intention here. Just, these movies are really thought-provoking and really make you sit there and think. And sure, movies are supposed to be escapism for the most part, but movies also have their role in documenting history and not letting shit stand and not letting people be forgotten, especially people who should be remembered. And then stories like this get pushed under by more important things and are only resurfacing now. We've had 2 movies which are linked this year about the same stuff, and the reaction to everybody I think who sees them is, how the fuck did this shit happen? The man was executed in his bed as he slept in front of his pregnant wife. That's insane. And that's the thing, this movie, it's really powerful, it's really heart-wrenching. The story is told really well, and as I said earlier, they didn't shy away from anything. The 2 main actors playing Bill O'Neal and Fred Hampton do a very good job within their respective roles. Also, Jesse Plemons and Martin Sheen do a really good role of showing the evilness from the FBI, and Edgar Hoover just having this vendetta against the likes of Fred Hampton, even demanding to get him off the streets because they were scared of him and what he could do. The really shocking thing is right at the end in the text, when that comes up at the end to explain things, Fred Hampton was 21. according to that text. 21. He'd barely even started his life, and he was executed in his bed as he slept in front of his pregnant wife. It's easy to see why this movie is nominated for so many Oscars. Best Picture, as I said already, it's such a powerful story and so well told. I'm not surprised it's up for Best Picture. The two actors both being for Best Supporting Actor, they should both be up for Best Leading Actor, or one should be up for Leading Actor and one for Supporting Actor. Take your pick, which goes where, because they're both deserving of nominations, certainly. Both serious contenders for the awards, especially the lead actor one. I think that one's wide open as to who could get that, because I don't think the field's super strong in lead actor this year. Best Supporting Actor is interesting at the Academy Awards this year now, because Sacha Baron Cohen's fantastic in Trial of Chicago 7, Daniel Kaluuya is fantastic in this, and LaKeith Stanfield is also fantastic in this. Daniel Kaluuya and LaKeith Stanfield also were in Get Out together, which is another fantastic movie. Daniel Kaluuya even was nominated for Best Leading Actor in that movie as well, so this is his second Academy Award nomination, although it should be for Leading Actor. I definitely say LaKeith Stanfield is the main actor and Daniel Kaluuya is the side actor. Not side actor, but supporting actor, because the story definitely focuses on Bill O'Neal's betrayal of Fred Hampton. Now, from a movie point of view, forgetting the story for a moment, hard as that is this the best movie I've watched this year? I would say no, but it is one of the best, and I fully understand why it's got its Oscar nomination. And if it does win it, if it does pull it out of the bag, I would not be surprised. It's got a very good rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's like 96% from critics, 94% from audiences. So it's getting a good response so far. So it comes out to the rating. Out of 10, I would definitely give this movie, I'm going back and forth between 8 and 9, maybe an 8.5 out of 9. I think that's the first half rating I've given. 8.5 out of 9, I think, is just about there. As I said, not the best movie I've seen this year, but one of the best. 8.5, I think, is the second highest rating I've given on the channel, so I think that'll tell you exactly how much I enjoyed this movie. But I'd love to know your thoughts on this movie. Judas and the Black Messiah, if you've seen it, let me know all about it in the comments below. And how many of their 6 Oscar nominations do you think they're actually going to win? They can actually only win a maximum of 5 because 2 are in the same category. Out of those 5 awards, how many do you think they're going to pick up? And if you haven't seen the movie, if you're still here and you haven't seen the movie and I've just spoiled loads of stuff for you, check out the movie regardless. It's a fantastic film. So there we have it, another Academy Award nominee reviewed on the channel, and there will be a few more coming up. I'm considering doing Ma Rainey's Black Bottom next. Chadwick Boseman in that one. If you want to see that, let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to check back on Monday, 8 p.m. GMT for the Movie Film Show number 3. And with all that said and all that done, thank you so much for watching.